Living the life.
We're going to go to our first two guests tonight, Mohammed Taher from Gafoor, who specialises in the farming, processing and distribution of halal certified poultry products, and Shakeel Patel, the manager of Oodles N'Oodles or Ilford Lane, just around the corner here. And they're talking to us about the effects of lockdown on the retail and how they've changed their business model. So let's welcome both Brother Mohammed and Shakeel. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show and to Living the Life.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Obviously, I can tell which one's which because of the lovely T-shirt there, Oodles N'Oodles, lovely, fantastic. Well, look, Jazakallah khair for joining us. Ilford Lane's literally around the corner from me. How far is it from you?
Not too far. I mean, not too far from the studio at all, is it?
When I try and do my 10,000 steps, that's where I go. I go down the high street and then come back and then walk down Ilford Lane. So once I've got to the end of Ilford Lane to the masjid, then I come back. I know I've done my 10,000 steps. Right, so that's for definite. Look, Ilford Lane, even now, is still really busy, but, you know, obviously what's happening behind the counter, so to speak, is a very different story. Can both of us tell us about what life was like up until the beginning of March last year, before the lockdown started? Brother Mohammed, do you want to start off? Brother Shakeel?
Yeah, mashallah, the full retail shops, mashallah, were very busy before lockdown. We would have been supplying shops, restaurants, caterers, factories, factories that were making kebabs, samosas for places. We would have been supplying shops. Our retail trade would have been very busy, people ordering their lambs and sheep, and we would have been running two shifts, 24 hours. So alhamdulillah, we were just very busy, all our 4 outlets in east of London.
Now that's interesting, because we don't think about that, do we? About down the chain. You just think about the counter. Brother just mentioned that you're supplying restaurants and takeaways. We don't actually think about those things because you start to work backwards. You know, if you start to look at where the produce is going and how the lockdown start to affect you, then you can get it 24 hours a day. But how that must have had a massive impact. And was it quite sudden that everything kind of came to a standstill?
Absolutely. If you think about all the restaurants that all of a sudden a lot of them weren't doing Ubers and all these takeaway places, and all of a sudden they've had no business. Everyone's had to adapt. The first few weeks, there was panic setting in the retail side, but the restaurants had nothing. We were looking forward to, obviously, the wedding places. We were the leading suppliers in London to the caterers. So, you know, someone like Oodles in Ilford and Green Street, obviously we were supplying them, and their demand, and they've had to adapt as well.
Of course, and talking about that, let's go to Brother Shakeel. Of course, with restaurants it's a little bit different, because like Brother Naeem was mentioning, with I guess with a butcher shop, it's not just a shop, it's the other retailers that also buy into your product. With yourself, with Oodles N'Oodles, obviously people can't sit in anymore, but how has your business changed since lockdown last year?
Yeah, so we actually opened during the first lockdown. In June 2020, Oodles Green Street opened, and then we actually opened during the second lockdown. Ilford Lane opened. So with us, we saw for Ilford Lane, we saw a drastic reduction from eating in customers to takeout and delivery platforms. That was one of the major changes, especially in Ilford Lane. So when we opened Ilford Lane, we were on the second lockdown, but customers could dine in. And what actually happened was 2 months later, we went into a national lockdown in the month of November. And again, we had to adapt straight away, COVID compliance, shut the doors, but literally takeaway and collections only. So it's literally, flipping your whole business model overnight. And a lot of takeaways and restaurants are going through the same thing.
Of course, I mean, that just goes to show you're very brave to have actually started a business during lockdown, and probably very different to your business plan. But, you know, in terms of the relationship between yourselves, you know, the supply and demand there, that's changed completely. So the relationship between yourself, Mohammed, and say yourselves in the restaurant trade, how has that changed?
Absolutely. So when we opened up, we actually had a business plan. We actually had a pricing strategy. Gafoors in Leytonstone have been very, very supportive from Oodles, both of our branches of Oodles in Upton Park and Ilford Lane. And what's actually happened is, where we were accounting for the takeaway and eating in dining customers, the footfall, because of the footfall in reduction in footfall, what that means is obviously we're buying less, we're buying a higher price, and obviously that basically takes a downturn and a downturn impact slowly, downstream impact, I should say, slowly into the sales.
But Mohammed, that must have been a big challenge as well, because we noticed in the first lockdown, businesses were starting to charge higher prices for the same product. There was a big conspiracy theory that, the shopkeepers are, pocketing the money. They're charging us more because of the lockdown, blah, blah. But what was the reality? Because, the prices increased for everything, didn't they?
Absolutely. Chicken and meat prices obviously went up temporarily, but you've got to understand that it was costing more. People think, example is that if you're doing 200 or 300,000 chicken, and all of a sudden your chicken goes to 100,000, you still got your same charges. Your overhead charges exactly the same. Your service charges, every charge is exactly the same. So you're having to absorb some of the charges, and you pass on some percentage to the customers as well. So obviously we've tried to keep, like for instance, Oodles, it's costing us more to deliver to them, but we've absorbed most of the charges. We've only passed on a 10% example increase to them. So it's a matter of the whole chain absorbing prices as well.
What did you do? Because look, when I go to a butcher's, I want to see the meat, I want to walk in, and that model, I mean, you must have sat down and thought, right, what do we do? Was it a case of back to the drawing board and think, right, what we're going to... Or were you waiting for government guidelines, etc., or did you really... I mean, nobody envisaged we'd be here today. Mm-hmm. What did you start to do, Brother Mohammed, on Gafoor's?
We introduced safety measures straight away. We put in cough screens, one-way system, rope barriers, limited amount, obviously, customers that came in, hand sanitizers automatically. And the biggest thing that we launched during this was our delivery online app, which is click and collect contactless delivery, and we introduced this all on the Apple Store and Google Store, where it could be downloaded, and we found that customers wanted more of a delivery, and the deliveries outside, they didn't want to actually touch the bags. Some customers were saying, obviously, leave the bags outside for a couple of hours, so people were scared to actually go to shops, but we gave them obviously that service of actually delivering to them most postcodes all across East London.
It just got to show, you've had to adapt as a business, but as the customer, they've also had to adapt. Have you found for both of yourselves actually where certain trade has perhaps decreased during lockdown, perhaps more people are cooking at home, so there might be an increase in certain kinds of, people trying different recipes. Everyone became a baker, didn't they, during the first lockdown?
Sure, you've got to understand there was no barbecues through the summer, hardly, no one inviting anybody around their houses. Yeah, so all these things stopped. For instance, chops. Chops was normally a big seller throughout the whole summer, but no one was hardly doing barbecues. So lots of changed the pattern of actually what people were buying and cooking changed. People were spending more time at home. People that weren't cooking at before, that were at workplace, they were cooking and helping in as well. So it did change the pattern, yeah.
And what about Ramadan? What was Ramadan like last year? Did the types of meats that you were starting to sell, did that change?
Yeah, absolutely. During Ramadan, where people were buying, instead of buying ready-made samosas, they were cooking more at home. Of course. More products were cooking at home. Yeah, so we obviously launched our own, because of that, what customers wanted, we launched our own frozen range for that reason. But people were asking for better quality samosa, better quality kebabs, so we launched our own Gafoor frozen range as well.
It's definitely made you be a bit more creative with your products as well. Brother Shakeel, how did your business change in terms of how people were buying from the first lockdown in the summer to November? Because of, like Brother Mohammed was saying, no barbecues are happening, and I didn't even think about that. How our culture of summer cultures changed during this lockdown. But obviously, summer and winter is very different, and how we buy and what we want is very different. Did that change during the two lockdowns for you at Oodles N'Oodles?
Yes, no, it's a great question. So with our business model, we operate, so we're casual dining. We're not like a restaurant or just a takeaway. We're kind of a cross between the both. However, that still meant, previously we had 70% eat-in dining customers and 30%, I would say, would probably rely on delivery sales. It's totally flipped. At the moment, we're relying on 80% online orders, takeaways, and probably 20 to 30% collection orders. So the whole dynamic of our whole entire business model has changed, which also actually has an impact on us, because where you're reliant on customers actually coming in, dining in, where the food is fresh and is served within 5 minutes, sometimes this kind of works against us, because, you know, where the delivery has taken probably half an hour, 20 minutes. It's slightly different, but even then, we've seen a huge upturn in deliveries. You know, and we, you know, we're here to serve you know, the people that are actually self-isolating. So you know, kind of there is also that kind of self-satisfaction where you're actually serving people that can't leave their house or can't actually go out and, you know, make a meal. So yeah.
What do you think? Do you reckon, inshallah, things get back to some kind of normality? Do you think the kind of online trend is going to continue for both of you? Shakeel, what do you think?
I definitely think so. I think, I mean, if you look at it in every sector, for example, the guys that were in the office and they're working from home, now they're going to be remote working. It's the same with, you know, technology. People that weren't tech savvy before have now got iPads, they know how to do video calls. I mean, I was struggling getting on Skype earlier on, but yeah. Yeah. But really and truly, that's exactly what's going to happen. You know, people won't. I mean, yeah, and there is a good out of this as well, because if you think about it, you know, the people that weren't ordering online, there will be now. You know, they're kind of more reliant on technology. So, inshallah, hopefully things do get back to normal. We do want to see the footfall. We do want to see, you know, Gafoors from Leytonstone supplying us at full capacity. You know, we want to see the weddings. We want to see people coming into the restaurants with their families and friends, inshallah. But I do think, you know, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that is obviously, you know, some of the good things out of this whole pandemic. You know, they will stay.
But Mohammed, let me ask actually this question for both of you, because something that we saw when the lockdown happened, a lot of businesses not only adapted their model to go online, etc., but a lot of them got heavily engaged in community work and trying to support the local community with, you know, with some of the aspects of delivering food to people's doors. And this wasn't online because the demand was there, and also some people were in really difficult situations. What did you two businesses? How did you get involved, and what did you do, Brother Mohammed? What about yourself? Did you guys get involved in the local community?
Absolutely. Since the first lockdown, day one, we got involved in quite a few charities doing supplying hospitals all across London, and I personally went myself and done 2 delivery drops. We done it with the Essex cricket team. They came on board with us. Obviously, we've still got charities that are still coming to us now, and we're still giving out free chicken. We've had great help from our head office, and actually they've been supplying free chicken throughout to many charities, actually. So it's been great work from our head office, you know, guided by Maksud, by Asif, by everyone.
And what about yourself, Shakeel? Did you guys have that demand as well to try and provide stuff for charity and people in your local communities?
Absolutely, yeah. We've been actively engaging with local homeless groups, local homeless people, where any chance we get to donate money to the local charities. We've been working with the Ummah Welfare Trust as well, and trying to basically run the business, and at the same time trying to do our bit for the community as well.
We can't leave this without asking Brother Mohammed. He obviously meat shop Gafoors. You know, what
it's
was
the first time I saw the online stuff, I have to admit.
Yeah,
I saw the advert, I thought, that's interesting.
I've actually got 2 questions for you. One, about the customer and how we've become so accustomed to the online thing. Has it made us lazy? But the second question I want to ask you personally, when it comes to meat and, you know, chicken, I want to ask you what your favourite sort of meat is, whether it is the chop or the rib or the chicken thigh. Go on, let's hear it. The man from Gafoor himself.
Meat-wise, I love the shoulder. I think it's the tastiest bit. People normally go for mass, thinking leg is more meat, but I personally prefer shoulder. Chicken-wise, you know, medium 1.2 chicken, or like you just said, boneless thigh, it's more tasty. Breast tends to be a bit more drier. So, you know, those are my favourites.
And are you the person at the barbecue that's at the barbecue as well as the person that's supplying all the meat from Gafoor's?
Yes, absolutely. I love getting my hands in there, so, you know, I love having a barbecue. We've had many at home this week, but I mean during the summer, so you know, so many people did miss out on actually inviting people, so hopefully it get back to normal where you can start inviting people and doing barbecues. Yeah.
What's your turnaround time like at Gafoor's when people are ordering online? What happens?
If you place the order by 11 o'clock, you'll get delivery the next day. Guaranteed delivery next day. So all you have to do is download the app. What it is, you've got to understand, all the prices at Gafoor shops are factory wholesale prices. The scheme what we've introduced in all our shops is to actually keep all our prices competitive at bulk prices. So you can come in and buy anything 5 to 10 kilo and get really, really best prices. So we've kept the price down on the high street. I think if it wasn't for our branches, you would find the prices would have been sky high by now in all the other branches.
You know, one of the things I've noticed, I mean, I don't do a lot of shopping, but when I do go home, I actually learned to cook as well during the lockdown. I've never cooked in 30 odd years of married life, so alhamdulillah, I can cook a mean dish nowadays. But are we becoming lazy, do you think? Because now you go to butchers, the chicken's been marinated, it's got this flavour, it's got that flavour, it's got everything on it. I can just take it home and just chuck it into the, and start cooking it. Whereas we used to do all that stuff at home. So are we becoming more demanding as customers, looking for the product literally ready to cook now?
I think it's a busy lifestyle as well,
That's the point.
Who probably doesn't have time. Yeah, so, us offering you, the masales, probably better taste. We wash it and marinate it properly. So it's your satisfaction that you're getting from us the nice product.
And of course, Oodles N'Oodles, that's exactly what it's about. It's about getting our food fast and quick and hot, right? Like when I order it, it comes straight to me, right? Absolutely,
100%. But yeah, next time you order, we'll make sure you get it even more quicker.
But it goes back to Brother Naeem's point about us as customers. We have become lazy, and we've made your lives harder as a business.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. The demands are there. We have customers that come in the store for collection. They want their food within a few minutes. And obviously, we're there to meet those demands. Some customers don't, in this pandemic, they don't like staying unnecessarily. They don't like the waiting times. And we totally appreciate that. So for us, the food, our whole concept is based around fresh food. We get daily deliveries from Gafoor's Leytonstone every single day. The food is HMC certified, alhamdulillah, and it goes straight on the wok, a flaming wok, and it's served within 5-10 minutes, inshallah.
Brilliant. Look, Shakeel, what has this the whole pandemic period taught you? What lessons? Because you couldn't learn this anywhere in a business school. That certainly, it's just been obviously. What's it taught you the whole period?
Absolutely, I think you're right. I mean, one of the biggest things I do say to me and my partners is resilience, and it's not only us Oodles. It's probably a lot of takeaways in restaurants. We're all in the same boat. It's taught us to be resilient in so many different ways. Number one, we've had to adapt to different situations, changing situation of the whole pandemic. The government guidelines keep changing. 1 minute you can eat out, the next minute you can only do takeaways, the next minute you have to, it's a full lockdown. So changing the entire business model overnight is not easy. But we're so thankful for the support from our customers, suppliers. So yeah, alhamdulillah, we really are resilient, and a lot of people are.
Brilliant. But Mohammed, what advice would you give to other businesses out there who are retailers or wholesalers? And what tips would you? Because you, mashallah, have adapted very quickly. You've also still got your branches running, but it was definitely innovation when I saw you guys and the little scooter taking the meat away and all the rest of it. It was brilliant. But what advice would you give to anybody watching who's running a business? They've struggled during the pandemic, or they want to try and move to the next stage?
Well, be patient. There is light at the end of the tunnel. You've got to start from basics. You've got to make sure your actual margins are right. You're covering your overheads. You're not overstaffed. Take advantage of the government schemes that come out. So whoever you have to furlough people early, and just be patient and if your product is good, if your product is right, customers will definitely come.
They will be back, indeed.
Inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair. Fantastic having you both here, and really good luck, inshallah. Good quality products. Allah bless you. Allah keep you innovating. Allah keep you moving, inshallah, and grant you success in this life and in the hereafter, inshallah.
Ameen.
Barakallah fikum. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Living the life.